So Donald Trump gave an interview last night with Sean Hannity. I just want you to contemplate this. Everyone anticipated the Senate that the timeline was to exonerate Donald Trump before this interview with Sean Hannity for the Super Bowl and before the State of the Union. I am convinced that that vote to not have witnesses was painful enough for the Republicans, particularly those Republican senators who are vulnerable, that they were afraid of exonerating Trump before Wednesday because they didn't want this interview to be all about how I'm innocent. All these guys, they voted for me. I'm innocent in the Senate. That was what his State of the Union address would be. And they didn't want that. They want this to be as quiet as possible. People forget that the grab them by the vagina line, he didn't say vagina. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm trying to be somewhat appropriate. That got overshadowed by the Comey letter. People don't realize it. It just like when they measure like the distance these things travel, it didn't travel as much as we all anticipated it. And I think that they want to keep the impeachment story subjugated in some way. And these are the last two opportunities that Donald Trump has to have a national, unadulterated national audience. The Super Bowl and the State of the Union. And I also think that they probably speculate the voter that would be most swayed by that witness vote on those senators is watching the Super Bowl and watching the State of the Union. They're informed. They care about process. They like football. Here's Sean Hannity with Donald Trump. And Trump is, instead of having to brag about how he's not guilty, no collusion, not guilty, didn't perfect phone call, instead he's going down his list of folks.
Michael Bloomberg. Very little. I just think of little. You know, now he wants a box for the debates to stand on. Okay, it's okay. There's nothing wrong. You could be short. Why should he get a box to stand on, okay? He wants a box for the debates. Why should he be entitled to that? Really? Then does that mean everyone else gets a box?
I guess if they want one, I will have to negotiate
the other thing,
boxes.
It's very interesting. Cory Booker and all these people couldn't get any of the things that Bloomberg's getting now. I think it's very unfair for the Democrats, but I would love to run against Bloomberg. I would love it.
He would love to run against.
Okay, now, here's the thing about this debate thing. Well, first off, I like the, he's little. I'm going to go after him because he's little. Short Mike. Mini Mike with the debate. Now, what he's doing is sort of fascinating in a way because he has now made it, a sort of like radioactive for Bloomberg to have a stool because it will come out. He is now, I mean, smart. It's smart. He has now made it radioactive for him to do that. And if Bloomberg makes it to the general election and is going against Trump, you know, the first thing Trump is going to do when he gets on the debate stage, like, how come he gets a stand? I want a stand.
I want one of those.
I'll take a stand too. You can see me tower over this thing. And you know that if Bloomberg gets into the debate, because it's unclear that he's definitely going to get into the debate with the Democrats, but they've opened the door. If he does, you know that is going to be a story about him having the stand.
Be the main thing I'm interested in finding out about that debate.
Yes.
I'm envisioning a general debate where, like with Hillary Clinton, where they're walking around the stage, just Trump towering over Mike Bloomberg, just like tiny little Mike.
And the interesting about this goes back to my theory that, again, you know, what is Bloomberg selling? He's not selling a list of policy proposals, although I guess you could say climate change he's been pushing a little bit. But he is selling like, I can beat Donald Trump. I'm a real billionaire. In other words, I have more status than he does. I'm a real man as opposed to him, et cetera, et cetera. And saying that little Mike needs a little help to get up to the counter.
That's okay if you need a stool.
It's okay.
It's okay.
He's saying it's okay to be so short. It's okay.
It's okay to
Look
be
at, I'm
stool.
gracious. Look at, it's okay for you to be short. I mean, it is, what is Bloomberg trying to do here? He's trying to embarrass Donald Trump, right? That's why they trotted him out at the DNC, to embarrass him. And the problem is you cannot get into that type of fight with Trump and win because he has no shame, and his supporters have no shame. So like the stuff that Trump can say will not cost him. Nobody else can go up and say those things because it will cost them because of the nature of his supporters. That is the flaw in Michael Bloomberg's candidacy. Okay, so there's this other question about Mike Bloomberg. The DNC has lowered the donor threshold. There were two things. You needed to hit a certain amount in the polls and you need to have a certain amount of small donors. They have lowered that donor threshold, which will pave the way for Bloomberg could be qualified to make it into the debates. And this is a really a fascinating, I think, turn of events. Because one, people are rightfully taking the opportunity to say, look at the DNC changing their rules. There really is no... It really is problematic that they would change the rules midstream. Okay, just generically speaking, because they claim so vociferously that they didn't, and now they're coming out and saying that, well, after the votes are taken, the idea that we would change the rules. One, if that was the case, this is something they should have outlined, in advance. There should be a document that was released when they come up with a debate schedule. We reserve the right to include more candidates after, because it's not just a question of changing the rules and making it more stringent for people to get in, which I think is legitimate, right? Like people, but the idea is that you're opening it up to people after people have dropped out. That doesn't make any sense. You could have written the rules as such that, like, okay, if anybody, now that we're into actual voting and we don't have to predict who has interest, if you reach more than 4% when you're voting, if they had written this before, if you got more than 4% of the popular vote in, or I should say the vote in a primary, then you're eligible for the next debate or something like that. I don't know what the number is, but they didn't do that. And so people are rightfully complaining. And I think it's very helpful that they're complaining because I know that supposedly the line is people overreacted to some members of the DNC just floating the idea of changing things in such a way that superdelegates get more power. I don't know that the DNC would do that, but there is no reason to believe that they should be trusted not to. So any overreaction to even the smallest change, even if it benefits your preferred candidate, should take place as a way of the DNC to be aware and feel like we are under intense scrutiny. And if we actually do make a material change, we could get in trouble for it. That, I think, is very helpful and important. With all that said, including Mike Bloomberg in the debates, I think is very helpful for every other candidate. Because right now, all that Bloomberg is doing is spending hundreds of millions of dollars defining himself to people, and he is moving up in the polls. And that is just a fact, Jack. Okay? Jack. And I'm the guy who's going to tell you that you should both complain that the DNC is changing the rules and hope that they allow Mike Bloomberg into the debates so that he's forced into the debates. So that he can be reminded that this is the crap he was saying 15 years ago in New York City as he was arresting hundreds, if not thousands of people on the street for just protesting.
No place epitomizes the American experience and the American spirit more than New York City. Ironically, it is exactly because we are a city that embraces freedom, that welcomes everyone and encourages their dreams, that New York remains on the front lines in the war on terror. I want to thank President Bush for supporting New York City in changing the Homeland Security funding formula and for leading the global war on terrorism. The President deserves our support. We are here to support him.
Yeah, he was a Republican and then he was an independent, and there's a lot of stuff that Michael Bloomberg has to reckon with, and I want to see him on a debate stage and watch these Democrats tear into this guy. Now, some of them are going to back up because they're going to want his money. But the fact is he should be on a debate. He should have to justify himself. It's only going to hurt him. It's not like he's not getting any other attention. It's only going to hurt him because he's going to get brought into the conversation and he can't just hide out forever. So I would encourage you both to complain that he's getting in and they're changing the rules. The DNC is changing the rules, and to be happy he's in. That's how Susan Collins gets to vote for witnesses. Free vote. She gets to pretend like she's for witnesses. She doesn't pay the political price because there's not going to be witnesses. That's what you're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to complain the DNC is changing the rules, and you're going to enjoy it because you want Mike Bloomberg on that stage.
Does he want to be on this stage?
No. No, he does not. And that's the point. Why would he? I'll debate Donald Trump. Or I'll debate when I'm the last guy standing, because the way that people drop out of races is not because they don't getting delegates. So they don't have the money. He's going to be in this race. He's going to be the last guy standing. He's still going to be running for president in November of 2020, regardless of what he gets the nomination. So there's that little dichotomy. What's the other clip we have of Trump with Hannity?
Oh, you know, him kind of doing his normal, I'm the most impressive president in the history of America, and then sort of a compilation.
We'll play that tonight.
Yeah.
Let's, here is Chris Christie. Now look, I'm about to present to you a little piece that we call the first 75 seconds that Chris Christie has told the truth. And he can only tell the truth for 75 seconds. He was on this week with George Stephanopoulos. I don't know, what is Chris Christie doing these days? Is he just sitting on some boards? Chilling. It's over for him, fortunately, I hope. But here he is. He's coming out, taking his opportunity to take a swipe at Michael Bloomberg. And I got to say, there's some truth here, ladies and gentlemen.
Tweets from the president all going after Mike Bloomberg.
Yeah, listen, I disagree on that one with the president. I don't think there is any chance that Mike Bloomberg is the Democratic nominee.
I agree with
because let me tell you something. Bernie Sanders is a lot of things. He's not stupid. And if it comes down to Sanders emerging from these first three, let me tell you what you're going to see on TV from Sanders. You're going to see Mike Bloomberg endorsing Rudy Giuliani. You're going to see him endorsing George W. Bush. You're going to see him endorsing John McCain. And not lukewarm, enthusiastic. If you're telling me that the energized part of the Democratic Party is going to go, oh, hell, we can trust Mike Bloomberg. We can trust Mike Bloomberg. No one trusts Mike Bloomberg, okay? Because Mike Bloomberg's for Mike Bloomberg. He was a Republican when it was convenient and was cuddled up to Rudy Giuliani. Then when it was not so great to be a Republican during the Iraq War, he becomes an independent. And then when he's not an independent anymore, because that doesn't work, he becomes a Democrat. So listen,
all those problems
the only people winning here.
The line again, and I agree with you.
The only winners here are Bloomberg's consultants. They're the only winners here. Get them to buy you dinner every day.
You just seem upset that you're not one of them.
Wait. We got to let it go. Let it go. We got to hear when he stops telling the truth.
The only winner here are Bloomberg's consultants. They're the only winners here. Get them to buy you dinner every day.
You just seem upset that you're not one of them.
Yeah. Believe me, I don't consult for people without principles.
Here's the one thing.
All right, there we go. We had to go to that point. The idea he was on a roll, truth telling. Michael Bloomberg's only for himself. That Bernie Sanders is going to put up videos of him embracing Giuliani and Bush and McCain. It's just that when he got to the point of like, I only consult people with principles. I mean, I'm old, but I'm not so old that my memory has failed me as to how much. Do we remember 2 years ago we were saying that Christie was the guy who could go out and get the hamburgers for Trump at McDonald's when he needed to? Like literally. I only consult with people with principles. I mean, I like the fact that Rahm Emanuel, basically said, you're just saying that because you want to get a consultant fee from him. But I'm sure that Chris Christie already applied for that job and got rejected. But there it is. He was able to tell the truth for 75 seconds. Let's go to the phone.